The Local Show, sponsored by Victory in Motion, home of knee repair, not knee replacement, on News Radio 570 WSYR, on 106.9 FM, and live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. The Local Show features in-depth conversation with business owners, employees, and influential business leaders throughout Central New York, exploring their successes, challenges, and reasons for doing business right here in our growing community. The Local Show is produced locally by Zoe Advertising. Now your hosts, Tom and Steve.
We have Pastor Josh Lange with us right now from Redeemer Church in Syracuse. How are you, Josh?
Doing well. Thanks for having me again, guys.
Oh, thank you. When is Easter?
Easter is coming up on the 20th of April.
Okay, 20th, yeah. So I didn't miss it.
You're good. You still got a few days.
Yeah. Well, the weather's been weird.
Right.
Some days, and you've been probably a pastor long enough to be in a church when it's been 100 degrees and then when it's been 20 degrees.
Oh, yes. When the lights wouldn't come on because we didn't have power, or, there's smoke coming in because something's wrong with the furnace.
How is the date of Easter? Christmas was basically, let's put a holiday here a zillion years ago, and hey, we'll celebrate Jesus. Easter, is it wrapped around the moon cycles, or why is it different? What's the deal with the Easter? I don't know the answer.
It is with the calendar. So, I think it was last year, Easter did fall in late March.
Okay.
And so it does go with the calendar that is moving.
Okay.
Was that the real season, or is this another, hey, we're going to celebrate, and here's a great thing?
Yeah.
But was it, like Christmas, Jesus wasn't born on December 25th.
No. So, with that, there's ideas that maybe, the conception, of Christ happened in that springtime area. So that's where we land.
Right.
Okay.
People have said things like that, you know what I mean? And then just walking through, again, calendar type things, this is the date when it fell and such. And so that's why it's kind of moving based on the calendar.
Do you have to have problems to come to Jesus?
I love Tom.
Or can you just be, floating through life and you really don't have a...
Do you know anybody without problems, Tom?
No, I don't.
Okay, so the answer is
yes. The answer is most assuredly yes. And the thing about Christianity is this. It is a recognition in our part as humans of need, and so take for example, right? This is fresh in my mind. I was just reading it last night. An excerpt from Dante, right? And
the Inferno.
Yeah. And so the idea is he's in this kind of middle stage of life, trying to figure things out,
Right.
and for him, the way to go up, to find what he's looking for is actually to go down, and he's got this guide. And I think the reality of us as human beings is we've tricked ourselves into thinking we could be God, and we've tricked ourselves into thinking that we have all the answers, and if we're just good enough, strong enough, and people like us, everything's going to go well with that. But the thing that we see throughout Scripture is that really there is only one who is God. And in our rebellion against that Creator God, sin comes into the world and unleashes just a host of problems. And sometimes we can see the direct connections that we experience in life. Sometimes we can't. It is difficult, but the beauty of coming into the season that we're talking about is that we have in God one who demonstrated his love for us in this, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. And so Christ lived just like us. He experienced the same things, the seasons, you know what I mean, the loss, of those close. He saw the brokenness of the world, and yet the one difference is he didn't have that problem that we have, and that being of sin. And so when he goes to the cross, he's able to pay a sacrifice, a price that is accepted by God. And when we simply put our trust in him, when we confess that need and humble ourselves, we go down. It's in that humbling and recognition of our need that we are able to start to ascend.
So that kind of answers Tom's questions. Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody that's got their act together that I've met comes across as, I should say this. People can come across self-righteous because they're so empowered and they are so wonderful in their own mind. They don't need God.
Yeah, well,
right?
It's true.
And there's some of the most ridiculous people I've ever met.
Yeah, well, or deceived.
Well, that's fair.
Because again, I think we think more of ourselves than we ought. And I just know for me as I've gotten older in life, that invincibility that I felt in my youth is slowly diminishing in more ways.
Yeah, mine's gone.
Than one. And so the interesting thing about going through life is you start to recognize more and more that you don't have all of the answers. And so I need to go to someone, to some place where I can get those answers that I need, that are the most important for my life. And for Christians, that's where we go to Jesus.
What do you enjoy the most about being a pastor?
I think
coming on this show.
I think it's kind of walking in the long-term journey with folks. And so I've had the privilege of teaching, kids in when they're just little, in kindergarten, first grade, teaching them about the faith. I've had the privilege of performing the wedding ceremonies for many of those same folks. I've buried parents and grandparents. And I think that the biggest thing as a pastor is that we're, this sounds a little morbid, but we're preparing people to die.
It is a little morbid.
But the thing is we have hope beyond this life. And I think that's what we're trying to.
Well, when you say hope, I don't think you miss, I hope I win the lottery. I don't think that's what you're referring to.
No, that there's more to this life than what we're experiencing now. And there's a life with God, and where we'll see the redemption, the renewal of all of fallen creation.
Yeah, and people tend to come back to church towards Easter. What's that all about?
Well, I think you got
all holidays, right?
Well, you've got a couple times a year where it actually begins to roll around in people's thoughts, and they're like, well, we did this when I was younger. Maybe there's something to it, and that's okay. Please go find a church. You know what I mean? At Easter here.
Well, why Christianity though? Because there are so many religions, and some might argue that that's where all the fights start because there are so many religions.
Yeah, sure. I guess some fights could start that way. But the reality for Christians is we're not pointing to a way of life to say, do this and you're going to get what you want. What we're saying is we're pointing to a person who really did live, a person who really did die, and a person who really did rise again for you.
Right. And when we unconditionally surrender, and I did that many years ago, God accepts us just like we are.
Yeah.
And then starts to do the work and to transform us and whatnot. So Josh Lange, Redeemer Church. Where's that church located? I think it's across from Nottingham High School.
That's right, East Genesee Street.
And come as you are and be loved. My goodness, it's 10 o'clock on Sundays.
10 o'clock, yep.
And myredeemerchurch.com.
Yep.
And if you want to talk to someone or ask a question, 792-4748.
Yep, there you go.
I got all choked up on the phone number. 792-4748. Thanks, Josh.